Whale Tales.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? It's time for a whole new edition of Whale Tales.
This time very slightly featuring Jeff.
Yeah, our buddy Jeff is here.
He doesn't have a story though.
I do not.
He's just here to provide some extra commentary and ask us some extra questions at the end. Quick update, because this will be the first of our videos to have gone up in a little while.
Oh yeah.
We've run into some recording issues as far as time constraints and some other things. All of us.
2 jobs.
Yeah, me and Tyler have been going through a lot of changes, like lifestyle changes
Sexually.
lately, and it's just been kind of hectic for both of us. So we haven't really had a chance to sit down and record. But we had a chance to do Whale Tales today, so we're taking that.
Yeah, since it just takes a microphone.
Right. Alright, so with that said, our prompt this month was from Tyler.
Yeah, it's Invisible Assholes.
Indeed.
So since I picked it, I gotta go first.
Right.
Alright. Let's jump right into it. Ethan, I need scene change music. Go.
Bottom.
Alright.
Bottom.
That's good. Alright. The story's called Extreme Adventure 4. Titles are hard.
I'm down with it.
Yeah, I couldn't come up with anything. Anyway, there's a story. A story now told only around campfires to scare children. But in ancient times, the people of Grenwolds knew the truth. The story is true. A story devoid of happy endings, and where people find heroes absent. This is not that story. This story is a lot like the other one, but it still has like one hero. Back in the year 401, a long-ass time ago, a monster-slaying paladin named William the Butcher existed. He was called the Butcher because of the massive cleaver he used to slaughter monsters. He was also a butcher on the side, and his last name was Butcher, so it worked out pretty well, except that it made him sound kind of like a serial killer. William was walking along the outskirts of his hometown of Who Cares when a cold breeze sharply blew past. "Zephyr, is that you?" William asked, looking around. "Yes, it's me, and I have information on the weapon you seek," said a voice from the nearby woods. "Why must you always hide from me, Zephyr? Aren't we allies? Friends, even?" "Indeed, but showing myself to a mortal is not something so easily done. I've placed a map nearby which should lead you to the Bane of Beasts. The Bane of Beasts is a powerful monster-slaying weapon that burns with an eternal golden flame. They're actually made fairly easily and can be bought, but it costs like 50,000 gold and you have to mail in a bunch of forms, and sometimes the flame's color is wrong. So William just isn't going to deal with that shit." William retrieved the map from their usual spot and flipped it over. "And you're sure it's here this time? Because the last few times... My information has been correct every time, but the sword was moved before you procured it. You're a well-known monster hunter, William. The creatures that hide it will go to great lengths to keep it out of your hands." William nodded and tucked the map away into his cloak. "Very well, then I must go quickly and quietly. Do you have my back, Zephyr?" "As long as you can fulfill my contract." William sighed and pulled an empty bottle from his hip and cut his arm open, draining his blood into the bottle, tossing it into the woods. Loud gulping sounds could be heard from the woods as Zephyr guzzled William's blood. "Now," said Zephyr, "your end of the contract is complete, and my magics can reach your world." In a flash, 2 bloody wings erupted from William's back, and he flew towards the ruins hidden under the Fields of Absence. Posted at the entrance were 2 huge minotaur. William charged in quickly, decapitating one, while the other rushed William with its horns. William blocked the attack with his arm, allowing the horns to pierce it, and twisted it sharply, breaking the minotaur's neck. William held up his arm and spoke, "Zephyr, my wounds," and the holes in his arms knitted themselves together, healing him completely. He continued through the ruins, slaughtering all manner of monster along the way, until he reached the final massive antechamber. The lights flashed on, and in the center of the room stood a creature with a lion's head and giant snakes for arms. It raised its snakes and began firing exploding shurikens from its mouths. William rushed forward, deflecting as many as he could, but the sheer number overtook him, exploding him to the ground. The creature stood over him, and its snakes bit deep into both of his wrists and lifted him off the ground. Its lion head opened, and it spoke. "There's no sword here, Butcher. No sword here, butcher. He had a speech impediment. He's got a lion mouth. Can't speak English well. There's no sword for you at all. Maybe so, monster, but I don't need a sword to end you. He opened his mouth, revealing a small yellow crystal, and the monster's eyes opened wide with horror as William bit down on the crystal. Lightning launched ferociously from his mouth, melting the creature's face off, but burning his own severely. William fell to the floor, coughing and vomiting blood. Zephyr, I need you to heal me. Not this time, Butcher. I've allowed you to continue long enough. What are you talking about, Zephyr? Suddenly, William felt thousands of needles and knives pierce his body. That is not my name, filthy human. I am Naga. The blades peeled his flesh away in small chunks before crumpling his body into a ball. Mortals call me many names. Betrayer of mortals, or the mutilator of flesh. But my real name is a secret I tell only to my children. The father of monsters. He stitched William's flesh into a cocoon around his mangled body and hung it from the ceiling. You should hatch into something wonderful, my sweet baby. Finn.
That was pretty intense.
Yeah. I thought I was a messed up person.
Yeah. I mean, he's a villain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty clearly.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I had a bad feeling when, the whole drinking of the blood and everything, and the
Yeah.
bloody wings. I feel like that should have been a clue to anyone.
Yeah, but I mean, he was just a simple butcher. Paladin. They, don't get any skill points or whatever, so.
Wow.
So, I guess my question would be, that crazy mouth crystal.
Yeah.
Are those, can you just get, magical elemental crystals in Grinwald? So, is that fairly common for
Yeah.
warriors?
I mean, it happens.
Can you break them anywhere? I mean, could he, if his hands were free, could he have just, thrown it on the ground at the thing's feet and not, destroyed his own face?
Possibly, if you threw it hard enough.
Okay.
So the company that manufactures those Bane of Beasts,
Yeah.
do they just have the worst customer service, or
Yeah,
can you not return those and get them fixed?
No, I mean, it's medieval times or whatever.
Oh man.
So, is there do they have infomercials for those? Basically, if
Yeah.
you're going through the town square at 1 a.m, there's a town crier there that's watch this, you're gonna love my blade.
No, they're usually magically projected on the sides of airships.
But
they are
airships.
Yeah, but the ads are just as shitty as you're expecting. Yeah.
Even back in 401, they had airships.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Wow.
I mean, that was
way advanced.
before there was even man. There was airships.
That is bananas.
Yeah. I know. And to think I just made that up right now. I mean, history.
All right. So I guess it's my turn.
Yes.
All right.
Sequence change. Jeff, music.
Na 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 na. Hey hey, new scene.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
All right. My story is called Another One, but not quite as big.
All right.
Already
better than my title.
It was the dead of night, and the small but merry fire in the center of the camp had long gone out. Of the two travelers who were resting there, one had gone to bed while the other stood sentry. The guard, though quite large, did not worry Thomas. He had snuck his way into many a camp in his day, often ones better protected than this. His full name was Thomas Bartholomew Rapscallion, although he told his friends to call him Invisible Tom. No one did, though, because Thomas Bartholomew Rapscallion had no friends. This was not, as he claimed, because the whole world was against him. No, the reason Thomas was friendless was simple. He was an enormous jerk, and also a petty thief. The two really go hand in hand, if you think about it. Still, as unlikable as he was undeniably talented. He could steal just about anything. He had pulled heists in broad daylight, sometimes right in front of his victims' faces. He was able to do this because, somehow, he could turn invisible. Yes, Invisible Tom was more than just a nickname he hoped would catch on. It was a literal description. Shortly after he had begun his life as a thief, Thomas had discovered this unique ability. Well, not unique per se. Lots of mages could turn invisible, and some other thieves in Chiron could as well, but he liked to think that he was especially good at it. No one knew how he did it. He kept that knowledge a closely guarded secret. Slowly, he crept into the campsite. Although he knew the sentry couldn't see him, he was still careful. It was too dark for Thomas to make out exactly what the man looked like, but he was definitely large, and a wrong step could make a noise that would alert him. Carefully, he slipped into the tent and looked around. It was a small but sturdy thing, and inside there was a single well-used sleeping bag, which currently contained a young woman. She was clearly a warrior of some manner. Her face bore a few scratches and scars, but these did not mar her beauty. She was asleep, her shoulder-length brown hair splayed across her pillow. Thomas barely paid her any mind. Instead, his eyes were fixed on the adventuring gear strewn out beside her. First, he saw a bow and quiver set next to a small rucksack filled with all the essential odds and ends for an explorer. Next, his eyes fell on a monogram cloak, the deep green of forest leaves, which had a note attached. The monogram was MIB, while the note read, "Sorry I ruined your other one. Hope this makes up for it." The real prize, though, lay close at the slumbering woman's side, as though she couldn't bear to part with it even in her dreams. It was a long, elegant saber, with an intricate gilded guard and a large emerald set in the pommel. Slowly, trying his utmost not to wake the woman, Thomas reached down and picked up the blade. The moment the sword left her side, however, the girl's eyes shot open and she bolted upright, sliding out of the sleeping bag and taking up a fighting stance in one fluid movement. "Who's there?" she cried out, and then saw the blade floating in front of her, as if animated by some strange magic. With a K.
I also spelled magic with a K this time.
Good.
I remembered.
Her eyes narrowed. "What sorcery is this?" she growled. Thomas bolted for the tent flap, and had only just managed to exit when he slammed into what felt like a brick wall. He fell back to the ground, the wind knocked out of him, and stared up at a towering Goliath of stone and steel. The thing glanced around for a moment, puzzled, before looking down. "Melinda?" it called into the tent. "What's going on? I heard you shouting, and then something bumped into me, and now your sword is out here on the ground. Are you all right?" Quickly, or at least as quickly as he could in his breathless state, Thomas rolled to the side, scrambled up, and began to run for it. He knew what that thing was. It was a golem, and he had no desire to test himself against one of those. He'd heard they had laser eyes. "Grab it," the woman shouted. Yeah, thank you. "Grab it," the woman shouted, bursting out of the tent holding her bow, an arrow already knocked. "Grab the sword, hurry." The golem began to chase after Thomas, fixing its eyes on the wavering blade that his invisibility did not affect. Invisible Tom cursed quietly. This must be a magic sword of some kind. For some reason, the effects of his invisibility extended to everything he was wearing or holding unless it was magical. Any such artifacts would remain entirely visible. An arrow flew past his shoulder, and he gave a strangled gasp of surprise. This woman was a good shot, and her golem pursuer would be hard to lose. Sorry. Maybe the sword wasn't worth it. Maybe he should just ditch it and escape. No, he thought, looking at the finely crafted weapon. The emerald in the pommel alone would fetch me a great price, not to mention the beauty of the blade itself. And considering it's magical as well, this thing could make me rich. I can't leave it behind. If he could just reach the nearby city of Kaltok, he would be fine. He could sell the blade easily enough there, and he doubted his victims would be able to track him down once he did. That was the plan, then. Outrun an angry golem and sharpshooter for the rest of the night, be in town by morning, and get filthy rich. Scene change. A few hours after the robbery took place, Melinda Barkhollow and Jerry the Golem returned to their campsite. Melinda stomped furiously around the front of the tent. "Damn it," she hissed. "Damn it, damn it, damn it." "I'm really sorry," Jerry said. I couldn't see him. I can't catch what I can't see." A single tear of crystallized magic fell from one of his emerald eyes. "I know," Melinda said, trying to calm down. "It's just, damn, he got my sword." She looked over to see more tears slowly sliding down Jerry's face. "Okay, wait. Golems can cry?" "Well, only ones with personalities," Jerry replied. "See, magic reacts to strong emotions, so when I feel really sad like I do right now, the magic responds to that. In this case, it's crystallizing around my emeralds, giving the appearance of tears." "Oh. You know, speaking of your emeralds, aren't they, like, enchanted to see invisible creatures or something? I know they're magical. I've seen them shoot lasers." Jerry shook his head. "No, my emeralds aren't actually magical. Only my chest crystal is. The latent magic is just channeled through the emeralds, using them as a focus. That's what creates my lasers. Sort of like how my elemental fists work." "I see," Melinda said. She sighed and began to pace around the camp angrily. "Gods, I can't believe this happened. This thief is going to pay." "What should we do?" Jerry asked. We have no idea what the thief looked like or where he was going. We don't even know if it was a thief. Maybe your sword got possessed or something. Melinda shook her head impatiently. No, it was a thief, she said. He panicked when I woke up, ran out of the tent, and bumped into you. I somehow think a magical force of possession wouldn't be so bumbling. Jerry nodded. Alright, well, we still don't know where or how to look for him. The nearest city is Kaltok, Melinda said, beginning to gather their equipment. Whoever took my sword is clearly not a fighter, or they would have cut me down when I awoke. That means he's probably not taking the sword for himself. He doesn't even know how to use it. Therefore, he probably means to sell it. If he knows anything about how relentless golems can be, he'll want to move it as quickly as possible, before you have a chance to catch up with him. Jerry began to help her pack up their supplies and tear down the tent. So you think he'll try to fence it as soon as he reaches Kaltok? Exactly, Melinda said, putting on her monogrammed cloak. Which means we need to get there as fast as we can before he has the chance. Alright, Jerry replied. But, Melinda, can't you just buy a new sword? No, Melinda snapped, rounding on Jerry furiously. This sword's special, it's irreplaceable, and I will get it back.
Sword Quest 2.
It was a beautiful new day in Kaltok. A bell jingled as the door of a small shop was pushed open. The proprietor stepped out from the back room, raising his arms and calling out, "Hello, friend! Very welcome to—" He saw who had entered, stopped, dropped his arms, and sighed. "Oh, it's you, Thomas. What do you want?" Thomas Bartholomew Rapscallion moved forward, nervously looking over his shoulder. "Hey, Dave, I've got something. Something good." Dave quickly crossed to the front of the store and locked the door, switching the sign to read closed.
Dave?
Yeah. What?
Hello, friends. Welcome to.
Yeah, he's not foreign. He just pretends to be because.
Does he have a fake foreign name?
Yeah, he does. I was trying to come. It's Ruko. I just didn't put it in the story. I did actually think about that.
Awesome.
Dave quickly crossed to the front of the store and locked the door, switching the sign to read closed. Dave sort of hated Thomas, as the latter was incredibly annoying and seemed to think that the two were best friends. He had to admit, though, that Thomas usually brought in excellent merchandise. If Tom said he had something, it was bound to be worth looking at. "Alright," Dave said, ushering the thief into the back. "What do you got for me?" Without a word, Invisible Tom pulled out the blade and held it out hilt first. Dave whistled appreciatively. "Damn," he said, grabbing the sword and examining it. "This is a beauty." "So what can you give me for it?" Thomas asked. Dave carefully set the sword down on a nearby table and cast a suspicious eye on Thomas. "What's the catch here? Where'd you get this thing? A sword this nice, it's gotta have people coming after it." Thomas rubbed the back of his head nervously. Well, some archer chick and her pet golem were chasing me after I nicked it." Dave recoiled, sticking his hands out in front of him defensively. "Whoa, no, he said, his head shaking back and forth. "A golem? Those things are bad news, Tommy boy. No way am I handling any goods with that kind of risk. I don't care how much I could sell it for." "Come on, man," Thomas said, a hint of desperation in his voice. "I need to move this thing fast. Isn't there anything you can do to help?" Dave thought for a moment. "Alright," he said eventually. "I might know some people who would be willing to buy it. But if I organize for you to meet them, I get a cut of whatever they pay you for it. 30%. 30%, Thomas whined. Just for setting up a meeting? That hardly seems... "Alright, fine," Dave interrupted, shrugging and moving back towards the front of the shop. "I guess I won't set up the deal. But hey, you're a smart kid. I'm sure you have lots of other contacts in town who you can sell that to before the huge golem catches up." Okay, Tom sighed, shivering at the thought of what the golem would do to him if it found him. 30% it is. Let's set up this meeting.
Bum, bum.
The deal was to go down in an old warehouse near the waterfront. Dave and Invisible Tom stood in the middle of the building, nervously awaiting the buyers. Thomas was jumping at every shadow and was on the verge of giving up and leaving when the buyers finally arrived. 3 large men sauntered in, one in armor, one wearing dark blue robes, and the third in a finely tailored suit. They reached Dave and Thomas, and the man in the suit nodded to Dave. "David," he said, "it is good to see you again. Make sure to tell your wife I said hello." "Of course, sir," Dave replied quickly. Dave was not married, nor had he ever been, but he didn't dare correct the other man. The suit turned to address Thomas. "My name is Andre Vitali," he said. "You may call me Mr. Vitali, or Sir." My associates here are called Jimmy Big Sword and Tuwan Tony.
God damn it. Fucking Jimmy Big Sword.
I understand that your name is Thomas, correct? Yes, sir. And I further understand that you have procured for me a very rare and powerful artifact, which I am to be buying from you this evening. Is that also correct? Indeed, sir. Good, Vitaly said. Had I traveled all the way down here to this unsavory part of town, only to discover that the object in your possession was not, in fact, a very rare and powerful artifact, I would have been very disappointed. I do not believe that you would have wished to disappoint me. Of course not, sir, Thomas mumbled, fierce sweat trickling slowly down his face. He pulled out the stolen saber and held it out for Vitaly to take. Vitaly, however, motioned to the blue-robed man, presumably Tuwan Tony, who reached out to take the blade instead. Just then an arrow lanced out, stabbing directly into Tony's palm before it could touch the sword. It's a setup, Vitaly snarled, pulling out a concealed hand crossbow. Get 'em, boys. Tony yanked the arrow from his hand and muttered a quick healing spell, while Jimmy Big Sword pulled out 2 long swords, one in each hand. Vitaly fired a few wild bolts upwards at the catwalks, hoping to strike whoever had shot at them. Meanwhile, Dave threw himself on the ground and hid behind some nearby boxes. Thomas panicked and activated his invisibility. The fight only lasted a few moments. Another arrow flew down and shot the hand crossbow out of Vitaly's grip, while a huge golem emerged from behind some crates and made short work of Jimmy and Tony. After a moment's hesitation, he knocked out the unarmed Vitaly too, just to be safe. Melinda Barkhollow descended from the upper floor catwalks. Watch the exit, she called. We can't let that invisible bastard escape again. Jerry stood in front of one of the doors and scanned the room as quickly as he could. There, for a brief moment he had seen it. A glimmer of emerald disappearing behind a box. The foolish thief was trying to escape with the sword again. Jerry rushed forward, rounding the boxes, and saw the floating blade slowly sneaking towards one of the other exits. Quickly, he reached out and grabbed at what appeared to be thin air. His hand closed around something, and he heard a strangled cry. "Melinda, I've got him," Jerry yelled. The woman appeared in a flash and yanked the saber out of the air. "I don't know how you're making yourself invisible," she growled, "but stop it right now." There was a squeak of fear, and then, suddenly, a man appeared in Jerry's grip. In one hand, he held a small, unadorned silver ring. He held it up sorrowfully. "It's this," he said. "The ring makes me invisible. But it whispers to me. It makes me steal and do bad things. It's not my fault. The ring is cursed, and I, a lowly mortal, have not the willpower to resist its dark urges." Melinda took the ring and inspected it carefully. "Bull," she said after a moment. "This is a completely average ring of invisibility. No curse and no dark whispers. You're just a rotten, petty little thief." Thomas sagged. "All right. So what? Are you going to kill me now?" Melinda sighed. "Well, I'd certainly like to, but no. We'll just leave you here for the guards to find." With that, she slammed the hilt of her newly reclaimed blade into no longer invisible Tom's face, knocking him out instantly. "I think that went pretty well," Jerry said as they left the warehouse, having taken care to tie up all the unconscious criminals within. "Indeed," Melinda agreed. "Now let's alert the guards and get out of here. I hate this town." Jerry nodded. "Hey, Melinda." "Yeah, Jerry?" "You never told me what was so important about that sword. I mean, I know it's magical, but there's a lot of magic swords in the world. We've already passed, 3 shops that sell them since we've been here." Melinda pulled out the saber and looked at it lovingly. "This was my father's blade," she said quietly. "It's all I have to remember him by. He was killed when I was young." "I'm sorry," Jerry said. "What happened?" "He died fighting Ralufex, the Infinite Terror," Melinda responded. "Oh. That guy sounds crazy bad," Jerry said. "He is," Melinda agreed. "He killed my father, and my mother barely escaped him with her life. But someday, when my adventures have made me strong enough, I will seek him out, and I will have my revenge." Finn.
God damn it.
What?
You got another to-be-continued story. You've got 17 of them.
At least this was a follow-up.
Yeah. A follow-up to a story that you made a to-be-continued story now.
But we got to see Jerry again. I love Jerry.
I know, I love Jerry too. You didn't mention again that he had a top hat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't mention it in my last story, but when I drew the art for that episode, I put him in a top hat. So, just so everyone knows, he has a top hat.
What kind of magic does that sword have?
No one knows, actually. It's a complete mystery to Melinda and her, if her mother knows, then she hasn't told her.
Ah.
Yeah.
So is it like better than a regular sword, or is it just like the same?
Well, she never has to sharpen it. So there's that.
Oh,
She knows that at least. But generally, like, that's... You know, she assumes there's more to it than that.
yeah. No, that's it.
Yeah, it's unnaturally sharp, but presumably there's more to it. I mean, that alone could just imply that it's like masterwork, you know?
It's magic. She just can peel potatoes twice as fast. I'd use it.
Yeah.
So there's an Italian mafia in Chiron then.
Yeah, there is.
I did like that.
So you brought Jimmy Big Sword into this.
I did. I did bring in Jimmy Big Sword.
You want to explain what Jimmy Big Sword is?
Jimmy Big Sword is an idea that I had for a Pathfinder character a long time ago. That was a fighter who worshipped Calistria, who's the like true neutral goddess of lust in the Pathfinder campaign setting,
Oh boy.
and he was basically a porn star.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Chiron, Jimmy Big Sword, is just a mafioso, along with 2-1 Tony, the mage.
2-1 Tony have 2 wands?
Yeah, he didn't pull either of them out during the fight because he got dispatched too quickly,
Yeah.
but he does have 2 wands.
I liked how Jimmy Big Sword just had 2 regular long swords.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I was asking.
Yeah. The reason he's named Jimmy Big Sword is the same as the original character concept.
Awesome.
I can only imagine.
Do you all have guns?
No.
No? Okay. Just curious.
It does have infinite terrors, though.
Yeah, I noticed. Noticed every time you tell a story, there's some sort of horrible monster. I like how every time there's like horrible monsters and horrible people, and we do the prompt invisible villains, and he's probably like the least evil bad guy you've ever talked about.
Well, because it wasn't just invisible
Even in
villains.
the story.
It wasn't just invisible villains, it was invisible assholes.
Yeah.
The main thing about Tom, like, he's not evil per se, he's just kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Jeff, you got a question for me?
No, I'm good.
Alright. By the way, for anybody who noticed that I, like, didn't mention him at all, Dave totally got away.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Dave.
So, yeah, and hey, at least my to be continued this time, it's got the promise of Raul who fetched the infinite terror. You'll get to find out more about that guy.
It seems a lot less like this is happening immediately afterwards also than like
Yeah,
all of your other ones.
yeah.
When we're gonna see Cinder again. And
Soon.
really?
Yes.
Like this month?
Maybe not this month, but very soon.
Okay.
I know exactly where my next thing with him is gonna go. But
That's cool, since he's bringing the apocalypse or whatever.
yeah. I totally have. Cinder is coming soon. I had like 3 different prompts in mind for next month, and 2 of them were things that I could turn into Cinder stories.
Oh, nice.
And the one that I ended up picking is not.
Ah, speaking of which, what is next month's prompt?
Next month's prompt is detectives.
Detectives.
Yep, detectives.
Investigators work?
Indeed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Private eyes.
Yeah.
Dicks.
Geminis.
Yeah.
Yeah. All that kind of stuff up for grabs. So,
Are you upset you used Mafia guys before you doing a detectives thing?
yeah, that would have been good. No, I think I have an idea for the detectives one, actually.
Oh, well, now I can use Mafia guys.
You could do detectives just
Yeah, they just
for a long
bust
time
the...
looking into the mafia, and then like right at the end they just find them tied up in their house.
I will I will
Nice.
say, you know what? I'll just go ahead and give it away. I think the prompt that I'm gonna use is gonna continue Isaac's story. Actually,
the werebeast guy, right?
yeah.
Yes.
So I will be following up one of my to be continueds.
That'll be nice.
Yeah.
Remember how your Golem story was in a to be continued?
And then I turned it into one.
Yeah, and then you continued it instead of the to be continued ones, and then also made it a to be continued story.
Yeah, but I thought Melinda and Jerry were a good fit for this one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like Jerry.
I like Jerry too. I felt a little bad for him in this
Yeah,
story.
he did a lot of crying.
Yeah.
Does Jerry make good tea?
Jerry makes great tea. He knows much about the tea ceremony.
You know nothing of the tea ceremony.
All right. Well,
How does he handle teaware, though?
Very
Very
carefully.
God damn it. Kill yourselves. I'm out.
All right. So I think that concludes another successful Whale Tales.
Yep. I guess Tyler really is out.
Yeah, I'm definitely not here.
So thank you for listening, everybody.
Don't tell them.
Hope you enjoyed this one. I
hope you didn't.
I had a lot of fun writing this one, and
I didn't. This was hard.
I
It was scary.
yeah, yours was creepy.
Yeah.
I want yours to be. You haven't really alluded to very many of yours being to be continued, but I want all of them to be continued.
Yeah.
I want to know what happened to
That-
Staggerpaw.
You should
Oh,
make
yeah.
this Jerry the Butcher guy become one of the gibbering horrors that Ethan's always talking about in his stories.
You mean William the Butcher?
Yes.
Jerry's the Golem.
Yeah, Jerry's the golem.
Ah, my mistake.
Yeah.
I have yet to listen to any of these previous stories.
You listen to Golems, right?
only
I did.
only your half though.
Ah,
Only your
shit.
half.
So you didn't even hear the first half, the first part of Jerry.
No.
Jerry
See,
the Golem.
the title makes sense now, right?
Wait,
'cause-
what was the title again?
Another one, but not as big, because the first Jerry story was called Jerry's Big Adventure.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ah. I get it. Now my title makes sense too. Titles are hard.
All right. Well, yeah. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Yeah.
We'll see you again next month with Detectives, and hopefully, no promises by any means, but hopefully, we'll be able to record our regular gaming stuff relatively soon too.
It should be more possible once things settle down
Yeah,
regarding jobs.
yeah. That's mostly we're kind of changing around jobs and doing stuff with that, and it's just there's been a lot going on.
Especially since we live in different towns
Yeah,
and don't have vehicles capable of traversing.
I am
Those
the only
towns.
one with a vehicle that can leave town.
yeah. So, yeah. Well,
If we have time for that, also.
right.
Which has been, one of the main issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you for being patient with us, and
I'm watching you sleep.